We're back on Sirius XM's Monday night at the fights. Just a reminder, we will not be here on Friday night. We have a basketball special. Every once in a while, these kind of things happen. You got to check it out. We do some tremendous basketball coverage here on Sirius XM Radio. We cover them all. But this Friday, Jerry and I putting our feet up. Ash, put your feet up that night. And we're going to listen to a little bit of basketball. Maybe work out in the gym, another couple of rounds of sparring, whatever. Do some writing, read some boxing stuff. Take the wife to dinner on a Friday night where we never get to, just having fun. 1-866-522-2846. Want to talk about the Klitschko fight coming up this weekend. Boy, oh boy, would Kubrat Pulev shock the world. Turn the boxing world on its ear if he knocked Klitschko on his ear. Randy G, the commish, along with The Shadow from thesweetscience.com. And going to stick this other young man on the line with us, Skyler. He's our former office bitch. And I watched the fight with him the other day. And want to hear what he has to think. So, Skyman, you've become a boxing maven. Were you impressed with Kovalev, or were you disappointed in B-Hop? Your thoughts?
I think this is exactly what everybody's been looking for, because everybody wants to see a real fighter, not just a fighter who fights B-level fighters, knocks them out, and then claims to be the next best thing. Kovalev beat a legendary boxer, and he went to the distance with him, and he outboxed a legendary boxer. So he proved to everybody that he's not just a power puncher with no other skills. He's not just, he's everything. He's a complete fighter, and he's the real deal.
I think Kovalev showed us that he really is the complete package. I looked at him as a guy who kind of looped his shots a little bit and maybe wasn't the greatest counterpuncher in the world, and was a guy who maybe would rush his way on the inside. A lot of things I thought negatively about him, and everything I thought I didn't see. And I didn't see those negative things against the guy who is going to the Hall of Fame. And if he could perform like that against a physical marvel like Bernard Hopkins, I am not sure that there's another light heavyweight on this planet who could hold his own or take the shots of Sergey Kovalev. Shadow, are you kind of in agreement with that, or you say, nah, Randy, this guy could be slugged around, slapped around?
I don't know. I saw some weaknesses in Sergey Kovalev, and I maintain that to this day. He's not mentally sturdy, but and Hopkins wasn't able to take advantage of that. But
he's not mentally sturdy?
No, he's not. He's prone and susceptible to doubting himself, and the right guy, like an Andre Ward, can place doubt in his mind and then really overtake the fight. But I didn't see Bernard Hopkins doing that, and because he has those dimensions that he does, the attributes that he does, he just kept Bernard from actually exploiting that.
Skyler, do you agree with that Kovalev is maybe not mentally as strong as he is physically?
I don't really think so. I think the only fight where he showed frustration was against Cedric Agnew, but that was because he was low-blowed, he was head-butted, and obviously that can get you frustrated. But I don't know that there's any fighter out there that would come close to Kovalev, and I think that's going to be Kovalev's problem, is getting other good fighters into the ring with him.
And not just that, competing with him, because I believe Bernard Hopkins is still one of the more formidable light heavyweights, even now. Because in the past two fights, let's not forget, past 2 or 3 fights, he's captured 2 belts.
Mm-hmm.
Not just one guy who had 2 belts, but he soundly beat 2 guys who were champions. So we got to keep that in mind also. I think Kovalev is the real deal at light heavyweight, and I don't see anybody on the horizon who can threaten him except for Andre Ward, who's 1 division south.
I just think good luck getting anybody into the ring with him.
Skyler, do you think that, as we were talking about, perhaps Kovalev against Ward in 2015, a little bit down the road, it's not going to happen in January, February, but maybe July, August, September, somewhere around that time frame that we could see a Kovalev-Ward fight?
I think it's certainly possible, and I think it's certainly, there's no network problems because they're both on HBO.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I think that even though Kovalev looked so good against Hopkins, Ward would still have to be favored because Ward just has so much the better resume, even though he doesn't have a completely legendary Hall of Famer. He's got Carl Froch, who probably will be in the Hall of Fame, and he's so far shown that he's more all-around. He's dealt with different types of adversity and more adversity so far than Kovalev.
Yeah, different styles too. You make a great point, Skyler. In the Super 6, he faced 4 guys. 4 out of the 5 guys he faced went on to claim to claim belts after Andre Ward beat them. Mikhail Kessler won a belt right after he lost to Andre Ward. He beat Carl Froch for the WBC title. Then Carl Froch, after Ward beat him, went on to beat Boutte for the IBF title. Of course, Akil Bika and Arthur Abraham later won titles. So Andre Ward does have a stronger resume than does Kovalev. But at the end of the day, it's all about what happens in the ring.
We are Monday night at the fights. I'm Randy G. in studio. With us from thesweetscience.com, columnist for them, The Shadow. And also on the air with us in studio, our former office bitch has moved on to continue his education, but back tonight to talk a little bit about Bernard Hopkins beating at the hands of Sergey Kovalev, the next great thing out there. Another boxing superstar has emerged in Kovalev, the Crusher from Russia. And actually, this man is not the Crusher from Russia. He's just the Crusher from Cold Spring Harbor. And I'm talking about Skyler, the office bitch. And I think we're all impressed with what we saw from Sergey Kovalev the other night. I would like to see him in against Andre Ward, but again, there's nothing on the horizon right now for Andre Ward. It's not like he's got even a tune-up fight, a stay active fight, or because he's not even active. There's nothing on the line there. So he's going to have to come back, and then he's going to, after the comeback, he's going to probably have to have another one and maybe take on some other contender, whatever, an Edwin Rodriguez type, maybe a rematch with him. You know, a guy in that category before he jumps in with a Kovalev. So that fight's at least 7, 8, 9 months away. But Kovalev definitely, the other night, doing something that nobody has ever done in the 60-some-odd fight career of Bernard Hopkins, was shut him out. 12 rounds up, 12 rounds down. He could not get in the fight. And I think, quite frankly, and Skyler, do you agree with this? I thought it was the first round knockdown. Once he got hit with that hard right hand, he almost thought to himself, uh-oh, Bernard, that one didn't even land on the chin and you went down. You got to be careful. And because of that, he never let his left hand go. The jab became non-existent for Bernard Hopkins.
I think that definitely played a role in making Kovalev assert himself much earlier, but I think Kovalev would have hit him at some point anyway. So if he didn't knock him down in the first round, he would have hit him hard in the second, third, fourth. It would have happened, and from that point on, Hopkins would have stuck to surviving instead of trying to win.
Okay.
Well, I don't think he was trying to survive. I think he was trying to win. And the thing is, we got to keep in mind, he caught Bernard cold in the first round. The old engine hadn't quite warmed up yet. And that's part of what happened also. And another thing that Bernard didn't do is, in the past 5 or 6 years, maybe 10 years or so, he's been fighting with his left hand down by his waist. He hasn't fought with his left hand high because he usually tends to give people the side of his head and he rolls the shoulder kind of like Mayweather does. And it wasn't until like round 8 or 9 that he made the adjustment to pick his hands up and stop getting nailed with all those shots at the top of the cranium. He realized I cannot keep taking these shots. And then he tried to unleash his offense, threw some hard shots, but it wasn't enough to unsettle the Crusher.
Well, on the undercard of Kovalev Hopkins, and Skyler, I know you were impressed with Saddam Ali. And he won against a veteran by the name of Luis Carlos Abreu, stopped Abreu in the 9th round. I was impressed with Saddam Ali, but I think you were even more impressed.
Well, you got to think, I think everybody, including me, was underestimating him before the fight because I forgot that he was an Olympian. I knew it, I just didn't really factor it in. So that means he had to have been the best as an amateur to make the Olympic team. But in his recent performances, he wasn't looking so good against Jeremy Bryan. It was a split decision.
Oh, and I was at ringside for that. He looked horrible that fight. But he did have an excuse, and we said, okay, let's see your next fight. if that was an excuse or really it did happen. And he blamed it on Ramadan, the Muslim religion, where he said he was really dieting while he was training very, very heavy. Not only dieting, fasting. Right. And you can't fast and train hard. You can't do both.
Yeah.
And he said he was. That's why he looked so horrible. I said, okay, let's see the next fight. And the next fight took place this past Saturday against Abreu, the 36-1 veteran. And you're right, Saddam, he moved, he picked his shots. The combinations were beautiful. I thought a couple of times, if I have to knock Saddam in any way, I thought early on, a few rounds earlier, he had hurt him on a couple of occasions, and never stepped on the gas.
Definitely, absolutely.
He backed up a little bit, and you and I were both questioning, what is he doing? Why is he not going forward? He's got this guy doing a Mr. Bojangles. His legs are like spaghetti. He's all over the place here. And Saddam didn't go after him, and it wasn't until he crushed him with that right hand that knocked him down that he finally stepped on the gas. But aside from that, I do think that Saddam Ali threw himself into the title picture in the welterweight division.
I think, like what you said, he certainly did not show the killer instinct that it might take to be a great fighter, but it's only his 21st pro fight. So he's still, and he's young, he's 26, so he's still got time to develop. But I think, other than that, he showed he can compete against a top fighter, because Luis Carlos Abreu was more in the fight against a pound-for-pound top fighter in Timothy Bradley than he ever was against Saddam Ali, and the Luis Carlos Abreu in the Timothy Bradley fight had an injured hand.
Well, there we go. And I mean, he has now put himself in the title picture, maybe in the top 20 or so welterweights in the world, and you can start thinking about Saddam Ali against the Devon Alexanders and the Timothy Bradleys, and the guy who they're expecting to make a lot of noise starting in 2015 is Keith Thurman. One time. That's all he has to hit you, they say. One time. Keith, one-time Thurman. Will he be the man down the road to dethrone or hand the first defeat to Money Mayweather? 1-866-522-2846. Got a Sturm fight to tell you about against Stieglitz. Got some Klitschko talk coming up. And want to take your phone calls. Again, 1-866-522-2846. We are Sirius XM's Monday Night at the Fights.